Alright, welcome back everybody. This is GTN. Today's video tutorial, we're just going to be covering how to create basic buttons in Flash. Also using sound with our buttons and creating animated buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and launch up Flash. As you can see, I'm using an older version. This doesn't really matter. I mean, this is, just kind of your basic way of creating buttons. Now to create a button, you can actually use any graphic that you lay down or draw. Also, if you go to your Windows here, you have common libraries. You can go to buttons here, and this little window will pop up, and you'll have tons of different buttons you can actually look through. So if I double click on some of these, you can see I have different style buttons. You got the bars, and these are good to look at in case you want to kind of dissect one of them and see how they're created. Alright, here goes some bubbles. Also, you got the old classic arcade ones. They're somewhere around here. Classic buttons. These are kind of fun. I've seen these and used these quite a bit before. Alright, but just letting you know they are right there. And the way you can drag a button in is you can just, whatever one you're working with, or if you're clicking on one, let's go back to the arcades. Like, for example, this orange, you can just drag it right there. If you want to see it played, you can see how the button looks. Or actually, if you want to see how it actually activates within your Flash stage here, all you gotta do is go to Control, Enable Simple Buttons, or it's Control Alt B, and then you can see as you mouse over it, it activates that button, and then you can click on it. That's how the button works. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just delete that though, and as you can see, it created it in my library. I'm gonna go ahead and just delete that with my delete key. And delete that. So just to let you know, that's right there. Your buttons, your pre-made buttons. So that's Windows, Common Libraries, and then you got your buttons right there. All right, but let's go ahead and just create a standard button using just graphics that you create yourself. All right, I'm actually just gonna take a paintbrush here and then probably use, I don't know, just some random color. Let's go blue. Let's go light blue right here. And I'll probably resize this, and I'm just going to draw kind of, let me see, I can do something like that, fill that in. Nah, that's kind of lame. Let me actually just lay down a sphere here, or not a sphere, but a circle, and I'll probably fill that in. Let's go blue, just like that. And within there, let's make that stroke probably black. Alright, anyways, now with this standard little shape here, I'm going to actually create this into a button. So all I'm going to do is double click it, or you can highlight it like that, right click it, just convert to symbol, and of course we have create the button. So I'm going to just call this blue button. Alright, now as you can see, if I mouse over it, my button is activated, but that's only because I have my enable simple buttons. I usually like to turn those off when working with buttons, so if you need the hotkey, it's Control Alt B, so I'm just going to turn that off. Alright, now as we can see, this is a button, so if I go to my properties, you can see it's a button. We can actually convert it to a movie clip or a graphic. Alright, but what I'm going to do here is if you double click it, you can see we're inside the button state now. Now you can see this is the up state, so this is what the button looks like when it first appears. And of course we have nothing for the over state, or the down state, or the hit state. Alright, I'm going to actually just click in the over state, right click, insert keyframe, and then I'm going to click on this, change the color to say red. Alright, so now if I mouse over it, it'll be blue, or when in my upstate it'll be blue, and when I mouse over it, it'll be red. So if I were to actually go back to the main scene here, and then turn on my Control Alt B to activate the button, you can see that upstate, or when I mouse over it, it turns red. Alright, and nothing after that. So I'm going to actually go right back into it. So if I hit Control Alt B, or you can just right click and then say edit in place, and it gets you right back into the button. Now this is the down state. I can add another color if I want to. That means if I click on the button, this color or whatever just I decide to put in this frame will show up. So I'm just going to insert keyframe and click on here and just change it to maybe like a purple. Alright, and then you can see when I go back, mouse over red, click purple. So that's like your basic, just your basic button. I'm going to go right back into it, edit into place. And for now, I'm just going to remove the down state. So I'm going to remove the frame. And normally I'll just kind of carry it over. And I usually carry it over to the hit state. Now the hit state, what that is indicating what part of the button you want to be, to be activated as the hit state. This will make more sense as you create maybe custom buttons. That way you can indicate what part is actually being affected. So for example, if I were actually to carry this over, and I'll go back to my scenes now. As you can see, when I mouse over it, look at the hand, it activates right there at the edge, so that's where the button starts. Alright, so that's the hit state. Alright, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to redo my hit state. So I'm going to edit in place, and I'm going to create a new layer. And in the hit state, I'm actually going to insert a blank keyframe, and then I'll make just a little box in there. It's that little purple box right here. And you know what? I'm going to make it invisible so you don't see it. So it's kind of like making an invisible button. So I'm going to right click it. I'm going to convert this to a graphic just so I can click it and get to the alpha channel here. And I'll just alpha it out, which is, as you can see, as I raise I can alpha that out. Now it's kind of like an invisible button. So, but now this is the hit state. So let's test this out. I'm going to go back to my scene. So when I mouse over it, okay, you can see it hits right there. But that's because on the first layer here, we indicated that to be part of the hit state. So I'm actually going to remove that frame. So now we just have that. That's the down state, and our hit state, we will carry it over actually all the way across here. Alright, that should work. So now when I mouse over, now watch when I move my mouse. So you notice it doesn't activate. But when I go toward the center, that is the new hit state. So hopefully that made some sense. And how you can basically, depending on what your button that you create, you might not want parts of the button or your graphic to be the whole button itself when you convert it. You might just want a certain area to be the activated hit state. Alright, now what we're going to do is actually get into how to create, maybe an animated button now. And as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and edit in place here, and let's get rid of that hit state. I'm just going to delete the layer, and then I'm going to carry this one over. So I'm just going to insert the frame. And we're back to our standard. If I mouse over, that's my button. Alright, we're going to go ahead and continue and actually make this into an animated button now. So as you can see, if I hit Control-Alt-B, we have our standard button here. Actually, let me go to Control and Control-B. Alright, so there we go. This is our standard button. Now what I'm going to do is go inside here. So I'm going to right click, edit in place, and we're going to create a new layer. Now, with the new layer, I'm actually going to take this one, the overstate, we're going to actually move it up here. And I'm going to remove these frames. So I'm going to right click, remove frames. So this now is our overstate, but I'm going to go ahead and convert this into a movie clip. So right click it, convert the symbol, we'll make it a movie clip. And as you can see now, our top layer here, I'm going to call this just our movie. And I'm going to click in here and go inside its movie clip now. So as you can see, if I click on it, you can see that it's a movie clip. Double click it. Now we're inside its properties. So I'm actually going to animate this. So I'm going to insert keyframe here, and maybe insert keyframe there. Highlight them all. Right click, create the motion tween. Now usually when you loop something, you usually have your first frame and your last frame basically at the same points. Or, basically same position. So I'm going to take the middle frame here and just take my scale tool. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and just hold down shift and just scale it out a little bit. Now as you can see, if I mouse back and move my mouse back and forth, and we have a nice little animation that just kind of loops. So now if I go back, as you can see, when I upstate, it's blue. When I click over, it's going to activate the movie clip. So now this is going to play within here. That'll just loop back and forth. So I'm going to go back to the main scene here, and we're just going to go File, Publish Preview, and then now when I mouse over it, you can see we have a simple animated button. Alright, so I'm going to actually Control Alt B and kind of move this towards the center here. Alright, so that's basically how you create, an animated button. It's just basically all you're doing is putting a movie clip in the overstate. So if you're trying to create, certain animate or certain graphics that need to animate, no matter what it is, just remember the overstate would be a movie clip. Alright, hopefully that made a little bit of sense. So now we're going to actually start working with a little bit of sound. Alright. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and work with some sound. As you can see, I'm inside the button, so let's go back to our scene 1 here, and let's just go ahead and preview this real quick so we can see what's going on. Alright, so basically we just mouse over, and this kind of animates. Now let's go ahead and put some sound in. Now I'm going to go right back inside the button, and now you can see I'm going to create a new layer here, and I'll just call this my sound layer. Now a couple ways we can do this. Now usually you'll probably put sound the minute you activate the button, so you'll hear something when you mouse over it. Now one way we can do it is, as you can see, I got some sound here, so I'm going to test them out. That's just a regular click. This is a beep, and this one's a bloop, I suppose. Alright, and I'm not sure what this one, what is this? This is a, okay, that's kind of a, I don't know, looks like a sonar type of thing. Alright, well I'm going to click in the overstate here, and I'm going to go ahead and just drag that right in the overstate. Actually, I got to bring this over. Let me Control Z. In the overstate, I'm actually going to insert blank keyframe. So we have a blank keyframe, and inside there I'm going to drop this clip. And as you can see, when the overstate clicks in, or when we go on the overstate, we can see it's an effect. I don't want it to stream, so I'll just have it as an event, and I don't want it to repeat but once. Alright, so I don't want it to repeat. So when I preview this, I'm going to go back to the scene, File, Publish Preview, Flash, and when we mouse over this, just should turn on the sound, just like that. Now, by me putting this in the overstate, notice when I mouse over it a lot, the sound just kind of activates. And that can be really annoying, especially when you got multiple buttons down. So for example, if I were to have multiple buttons down, and I were to preview this, you can see it can get really kind of distracting. So what I normally do when I create sounds, on my buttons, what I tend to do is I'll actually go inside, and let's go ahead and remove this sound, the sound layer. I want to create a new layer, and we'll go ahead and call that sound. Okay, it doesn't matter. In the overstate, I'm going to make a blank keyframe, so I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. But what I'm going to do here is actually create a movie clip off to the side somewhere. We don't even see it, so I'm just going to click a movie clip right over there, or I'll create a graphic there, and I'll highlight this and convert it to a movie clip. And we'll just call this sound, whatever, sound 1. Now inside that movie clip, double click, I'm going to actually drop my sound inside the movie clip now. So we're actually using this little square as a movie clip, I'm going to go inside here, create a new layer. I'm going to actually drop my sound. So I'm going to use that whatever this Polish, that's whoever the guy made it. I guess that's the DJ. I'm going to drop it right in there. And we're going to go ahead and move this over to, say, about the 5th frame. Because I don't want, the first 4 frames to activate it. So, and then I'm going to carry this over. And we'll say insert frame. Alright, so this is just a quick small clip, so I'm going to remove all these right here. So now what's going to happen when I mouse over it, it's still going to take about 3-4 frames before the sound kicks over and then loops again. And what I could do is have it, obviously it'll just keep looping, or I can put a stop action to stop it. So let's test out what we have. So I'm going to go ahead and just go back to my scene and preview this. Alright, now when we mouse over, you're going to hear the sound. And it keeps looping. Alright, but now if I go inside there, and inside to the movie clip, the overstate, go inside its movie clip, I'm actually going to put an actions layer here. And we're just going to have the sound stop right about here. So I'm going to insert blank keyframe. Inside here, I'm just going to right click, actions, and we're just going to go to global functions, timeline control, and stop. Alright, I'm just going to close that out. So now what's going to happen is when it plays this movie clip, it'll stop. Alright, and the reason I'm doing that is so when we mouse over, we're not kicking off the sound all the time. So I'll go back to my scene, we'll preview it. So when I mouse over, you hear the sound, and it'll stop. I mean, at least the sound will stop. But at the same time, if I keep mousing over, we're not getting that sound kicking off all the time. So it actually has to sit there and basically play the first 4 frames before it activates the sound. So hopefully that makes sense. That's one way of doing it, so you don't get that annoying, basically sound being activated every time you hit it. So in some cases though, maybe you want it to always, click off the sound when it plays. Alright, so that's how sometimes I do sounds within my, buttons here. So I usually put a sound clip inside a movie that you don't even see. It's off stage somewhere. And if you need to go back and change it, you can just click onto it. And that's why I don't delete that. Sometimes you might want to, but like I said, we're not seeing it. It's off the stage somewhere, so it's kind of an easy way to access it really quick. Alright, so if I preview this one last time, this is how you make, animated buttons with, how to make buttons, animated buttons, and how to put sound in your animated buttons. Alright, hope that helped. We'll eventually continue with a new video, so how we're going to get into some basic action scripting, now that you understand how to make the buttons and stuff.